Hi there, welcome to this week's video where we have a quick look at the pole. Okay, the pole's an area on the horse where when most people ask, they can really easily point to up here somewhere. But I thought I'd go into just a little bit more detail about what it is. We talk about the pole quite a lot when we're riding. You know, we need the horse to flex at the pole. We need the horse relaxed at the pole. We'd like the pole to be the highest point. We don't want tension in the pole. And because we talk about it so much, I just thought maybe I'd just do a couple of videos going in depth with how the pole is actually put together, what it is, and why we talk about it so much when we're riding. In strict anatomy terms, the pole is actually the protrusion at the back of the skull prior to that slight dip where the atlas joins in. But when we're talking riding, we normally refer to the pole as an area which includes both the atlas, the back area of the skull here, and all the surrounding muscles. Of course, when we're talking about this as a general area, we're also including the muscles, ligaments, as well as the joint area. So the first vertebrae behind the skull is actually called the atlas. The reason it's called the atlas is because it's named after the Greek mythology character who held the world in his hands. And so the atlas is the vertebrae that carries the horse's head. So I've tried to do a little drawing on Jaffa's neck to show you at least the position of some of these big vertebrae. But as you can see, I've got a slightly scruffy looking herd paddock horse, which I'm quite happy with, and he is as well, but it doesn't lend itself to nice easy drawing. The atlas itself, and actually the vertebrae behind it called the axis, are two vertebrae of the neck which are completely different in shape and size to all the other vertebrae that run down the horse's back. The atlas is massively flat with really, really large wings, and what I've tried to depict here, do you mind, mate? What I've tried to depict here is the wings that you can actually feel behind the horse's head. So it's quite flat. It sits as a joint with the base of the skull, the back of the skull there, and it comes around this area. The second vertebrae down is slightly longer, but also quite different, and it is called the axis. We're not really going to go into that today. We're focusing on this area between the skull and the atlas. So the joint area between the atlas and the back of the skull actually allows the horse to tilt its head or do the nodding action. May not get... There we go. There's a little bit of a nod. So this actually, from this area, the horse can actually bend its head at about 90 degrees. Interestingly enough, even though these wings are so wide and flat, the horse actually also gets some lateral movement from this area. So if you have a look at the shape of the atlas and how it connects to the skull, how it really sets up the communication between the horse's head and the back, which in turn leads to the hind end, you can see why this little joint and area is so important in riding. Simply yourself. Try relaxing your shoulders, relax your neck, extend your head and make yourself as tall as possible and put your chin to your chest. You get some nice freedom of movement there, and that movement itself opens up the vertebrae running down your neck. You can feel it. Now try it again. Close your neck up, hunch it, and see how much movement you get in that flexion type movement. You can see it's quite hard if all of this muscle is tense for the horse to get the freedom to flex its head enough to separate the vertebrae and provide the horse some relaxation. And this really is what our aim is. So the pole really is a very important part of the horse when it comes to riding your horse, and understanding its anatomy is step one. So hang around, like this video, subscribe to the channel for the next bit where I show you how we can have a look at maybe some pain and tension areas in the pole and some stretches and exercises you can do to relieve this. Thanks and see you next week.